contact. I talked a little bit about having an agreement with a person before you contact them in a breathwork session. But your contact with your client starts before the session. How you make agreements with them is already making contact with them. It's already you, and in fact, sitting here in the room right now, listening and engaging in this virtually or in person, you are sending an intention out to the world. You are advertising. Maybe I'm ready to breathe with you, maybe not. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll see. End of the week, I'll let you know. You're putting out energetically how open you are and the way that you want to connect with people. So we're not just about the size of your business card or the fancy words you have on your website. Energetically, you are connecting with your potential clients right now. It's even how you're thinking about that and how you think about yourself. So that's not to make it overly serious or guilt-ridden or anything like that. It's just to say that contact isn't just about physical touch. So through thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, before the session, during the session, obviously, but after the session. So I was in some psychotherapy training where you would watch a session going on in a two-way mirror type of deal. And then the therapist would talk about the patients after they left. And it seemed to be objectifying the person quite a bit. I was never really comfortable with it. Even though what did I know? I was a trainee, but it didn't feel respectful to me. And so I remember that. And I remember how I think about my client after they leave is still a part of the session. Like, if you're like, good riddance, boy, was that a loser. Well, you're sending that kind of energy out. Now, it doesn't mean you have to like everyone and want to be buddy and friends, or even like how they operate. You don't have to like everything about them, but you have to have respect for them as a living human being, a soul, and someone that entrusted their life with you. So I'm careful. If my mind starts going into judgment, it's like I like to work with it right away. And as I said, we're going to do some work with that here this week in the Holy Vision process. Let's look behind our judgments and see what's really there. It's an opportunity to distance. When we judge, we're distancing. So what's that about? Why are we creating that distance with that person by calling them slovenly or someone that I would want to associate with at all? You've made a contract, and relationships never end. You may not see someone physically. Our relationships here will never end. Okay? They're going to go on forever. If you walk out of the room and never see any one of us again, you carry the imprint of us with you. And the more we can bless that, the more we can come to peace with that, the more we can honor the exchange. It's really, we're not carrying around a bunch of incomplete things. Make sense? Again, this is not, oh, we're holy, and we're Betty than Thou. No, it's like, as we're going to find out this week, we got as many judgments as anyone, So it's what we do with them that counts. And that book that I gave you, that spiritual psychology book, there's a little exercise right in the beginning. It's 15 minutes of uncensored thoughts. So you sit down and 15 minutes, you write whatever comes out. Then you go back and you look at it. what would you consider positive and what would you consider negative? They find on the average, I haven't done large scale research with this, but on the average, people have 2 negative thoughts to every positive one. Now, negative doesn't mean they want to be a mass murderer or they, but it's a word like, oh, the weather's crummy today, or the traffic is horrific, and or whatever. It's just like basic type of thinking. We all have it. In fact, I was so curious one time because as a counselor, I have to take continuing education and I have to find books to read or courses to go to. And there's one book that kept on popping up on the list of possibilities for me to choose. And it's the positive effects of negative thinking. Why would I want to read that? Well, what I found out is this woman had done research, or what are called optimists and pessimists, and found out that there's, 2 very different ways, oh, probably more than 2, but 2 distinct ways people, how they approach life, what they think. And the what she called pessimist isn't someone that's down in the dumps or hates everyone. It's not misogynist or anything. It's just the one that's like, walks in the room and like, okay, careful, there's things over there, and that's kind of tuned into what could go wrong. And other people say, oh, everything's bright. Boink, they trip over someone. Hug your feet. So there's different ways, and often they get married. It's serious. And if they're accepting and loving, they learn from one another. The so-called pessimists tend to be more realistic. They have the so-called optimists tend to be a little happier in life, but the so-called pessimists tend to be a little more realistic. They know what they need to do to get prepared for a job interview. They do their homework. So we're here looking at our attitudes and accepting. All right.